Hi, this is John here from Forage London and Beyond. I'm here with Wild Booze alchemist Andy Hamilton, and we are sitting at this beautiful picnic table by a river in Hampshire. This is what we spend most of our time, most of our lives doing, just hanging out. We're going to talk today about how to make vermouth or vermouth. What would you prefer, vermouth or vermouth?
I think both are right. Vermouth comes from the German word vermouth, meaning wormwood.
Right.
So we're making a wormwood drink.
So you've gone into teaching mode
I've
already. That's great, I like it. Andy Hamilton's going to be in teaching mode and I'm going to be in kind of interviewee, asking questiony kind of mode. What I've been doing in preparation for this is accumulating lots and lots of tinctures. I've been picking various wild plants, various blossoms, roots, fruits, all sorts of things, and I've been putting them in a neutral alcohol. In my case, generally, that's vodka because it's cheap and it's quite clean. So here I've got some agrimony flower tops that have got a bit of an apricot taste that have been sitting in vodka for a while.
That's an interesting looking one, John. Oxeye daisy.
Oxeye daisy flowers, so they've got a kind of slightly artificial sweetness, sort of bubblegum flavour.
Fennel.
Fennel, hogweed, a member of the carrot family, and so on and so on and so forth.
Some of these almost look like, well, that almost looks like an undersea, you know, that looks like a kelp or something, but just the way that it's spreading out inside that liquor is
so what you should do ideally with a lot of these is you should remove the plant matter from the alcohol, and in some of them I've done that, and in some of them I've been a bit sloppy and they're still sitting in there. Do you want to talk us through the kind of base process of making it, and then we'll get on and make some?
I think the easiest way is to talk through it while I'm doing it.
Okay, cool.
Let's have a go. Let's just make a little one.
Right,
Let's
okay.
make the littlest one possible. So we've got a nice wine that, you know, it doesn't really have to be a nice wine either, John. This is, you could get like a £5. It's got to be slightly bland. You don't want the flavour of the wine to really come through, because what you're doing is you're adding flavour to the wine. So you want something generally quite dry, so a dry white wine. I'd say go for the cheapest one that doesn't taste like skank.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
You know, I think we all know what that skank tastes like. Some of the wines that you get in those big jugs or cardboard boxes, stay clear of those. They're always pretty bad. So I just put 300 ml, or what's that for our American viewers, is 10 fluid ounces in there.
Do you think we have American viewers?
We might have a couple.
Okay, cool.
I know someone from Idaho that will be watching. Hello, Frank from Idaho. All right, you need vermouth. So this is dried vermouth. You get slightly different flavour. Have a go at this, John. You get slightly different flavour. Dip your finger in. This is fresh vermouth in this one. Wormwood in this one. And dried in that one.
That's dried wormwood. That's got
intensely bitter.
Got a lot of bitterness to it, hasn't it?
Whereas the fresh stuff,
and that's really sweet and quite fruity.
So there's a difference,
and also quite bitter.
So it's bitter, but you're right. There's a sweetness that comes through. As this is just someone that it feels like your mouth is being pulled to your bum hole. Do you know what I mean? Like, whoa!
So we're blending neutral things, bitter things, sweet things, aromatic things, and coming up with unusual flavour combinations that vaguely are going to be like vermouth.
That's right. Basically, with a drink like vermouth, it's the same with a drink like gin. What you want is a kind of flavour journey to be going on. So some of the more floral flavours will be at the beginning. You can get that from just from the smell of it, and then when you first sip, you get that flavour, and then it goes in, and the bitterness sort of pulls all of those flavours. So exactly what it's doing, inside, as I described, your mouth being pulled to your bum hole. That's exactly what's going on through your mouth, through those flavour sensations. So you're getting the floral coming right through to the bitterness, with hopefully a nice journey in between of some of the other flavours.
Into our wine is going dried wormwood. Is wormwood a must-have ingredient? Is it not a vermouth if it doesn't even contain wormwood?
You can make a pretty decent drink, and you could still call it an amaro, which is Italian for bitter. You can have an amaro or an how did we say this earlier, John? You have to say it in American. Aromaticized. Aromaticized wine. You're adding aroma, you're adding flavour to a wine, so you can have an aromatic wine.
When he says earlier that this hasn't been rehearsed, we've just spent an hour driving around Southampton looking for a battery for Andy's camera, which he unfortunately forgot. So we've wasted a lot of time here on poor continuity and not actually rehearsed any of this shit. Sorry.
They didn't need to know that.
You can edit it.
But there needs to be a bit of sweetness too, and I quite like having sweetness that comes from the wild rather from sugar. We do need to have some caramel to it, I think, but not necessarily much. We can use sugar syrup instead, but I'm going to healthy bit of fennel.
So this is my fennel tincture.
So
can I try that?
Fennel just adds a natural sweetness.
I've got to drive at some point later. That's great.
Oh, that oxide daisy.
So that really tastes amazing and fennelly. Got a lovely strong aniseed flavour to it.
One thing that I would say about leaving your botanicals in for too long, ideally you want things that are really delicate flavours. Let your tongue be the guide. So something like the oxide daisies are going to be quite sort of delicate but sort of bitter at the same time, an odd one.
They should have come out of there ages ago. That's just me being slovenly. A lot of these I removed, and a lot of these I just got busy doing other things. Summer holiday, doing childcare, I forgot about it.
So it's starting to get a bit vegetative, and that vegetative taste is the demon of vermouth.
Let's have a taste.
You don't want that, but you can see
so
there's a bit of cellulose breakdown, which is good, but I've added a little bit.
Oh, it's a tiny bit funky, isn't it?
So there's a bit they should have gone in and out. They should have gone in 3 days tops. Let's go a bit of barberry. So nice one, you think? I can never be bothered to pick that many. I know it's not many.
That's Darwin's barberry. That grows as a sort of hedgy, holly-like border all over cities and around supermarket car parks and things like that. That's a great colour, isn't it?
That's cool.
Should we see what it actually tastes?
Where we're at. Let's see where we're at.
That's quite sharp and fruity.
So we've gone sharp, fruity, we've gone kind of herbally, we've gone sweet, and we've gone bitter. So that itself should be enough to start a basis of a good vermouth. But we will carry on.
Should we keep these over the side so we remember what we've actually used?
That's a good idea, yeah. Then we could even write a recipe up for it. Okay, it's getting there. We definitely need some more sweetness going to that. So, caramel. Now, caramel you can make.
That's quite nice.
It's nice, but I think it still needs something. It still needs something else. You could get away with that. I mean, you could get away with that at dinner parties. No, make me own vermouth. Here,
I don't really want to get away with it. I want it to be great.
No, exactly. So let's add. You notice that I'm being a bit gung-ho about the measurements now. You do. The first recipe I used suggested that you need 200 ml. What's that in American? Let's have a look on the side up here. 200 ml, sort of 6-7 ounces of caramel to 1 bottle of wine. But I found that too sweet, and I've been using caramel syrups like coconut syrup and agave and normal caramel, much less than that, and just allowing my palate to tell me how much it needs. If you like something really sweet, add more. If you don't, then add less. And just, you don't go rigid to the recipe. Just go for what your mouth says. Your mouth is going to be right. You're the one drinking it, so make it right for yourself. See, already that's starting
Although
to be
that didn't apply to the wines that my dad made in the 70s, which were all utterly revolting, and we'd all have to sit around while he kind of went, it's this and it's that, and they all tasted vile, absolutely vile.
They would have all tasted vile because they'd have used one type of yeast, and that wouldn't have been, but that's something
That's getting better.
It's
really interesting as well. It's got lots of different flavours going on. It's not going to be possible to have this conversation without sounding like a couple of massive wine ponces, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually not possible.
No, I never used reindeer moss in a vermouth.
Can I just talk about these blossoms down here and these fruits really? But I've got some white dead nettle, which has got some nice sweet flowers, and some Himalayan balsam, and I also intercepted 2 or 3 varieties of wild plums. So to the best of my knowledge, we could, were we doing a more traditional version of this, we could be heating our wine gently, couldn't we, and infusing fruits and infusing blossoms, but making sure we didn't boil the wine, so keeping it down to what, 65, 70?
Yeah, thereabouts. I guess, something like that. So what's that in Fahrenheit, do you know?
Don't know, I can't do these kind of, no.
112.
No, I think you're slightly obsessed with like clearing up the American market. It's foraged London and beyond, but it's not that far beyond.
Well,
It's-
they're people too. It's nice that everyone gets to have a go, isn't it?
I know they are. I wasn't having a go at the Yanks. But what we're going to do instead of doing a nice gentle infusion and heating things is we might do some rapid infusing by using this cream whipper, in which case we'll put some of our ingredients in there and we'll blast them with some nitrous oxide, which will bust open all the plant cells, all the fibres, and force alcohol into them, and then we'll use those as an ingredient.
So I think, yeah, floral this definitely needs, so we do need some of that. It could do with something orangey, so something like citrus peel or hogweed seed. You got anything like that?
I've got hogweed, I've got Alexander stems.
So Alexander's a plant brought over by the Romans, grows all over Italy.
I've got juniper in... Sorry, do go on.
Grows on the south coast, hogweed seeds.
I've got hogweed seeds.
There are.
And I've got juniper
that
stuck in vodka, which essentially is now gin anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, that is
So,
really, yeah.
That,
This can be quite strong and overpowering, so we'll just try it like that. And don't use giant hogweed seeds, but you can see that size.
I mean, obviously in preparing these and gathering these and making these, there's an awful lot of base knowledge gone into knowing what these plants are.
Sure.
So we're not just suggesting that you can head out and start making alcoholic tinctures out of any plant matter that you find. You've really got to know what you were doing. I've got some lemon leaves as well that when I was in Gran Canaria.
Well, let's try that.
So I thought they might be interesting as well. I've got some Scots lovage from when I was up in Islay.
So this is a trans-European
Express
vermouth.
Yeah.
This is vermouth that with ingredients from Scotland, the Inner Hebrides, down to
Gran Canaria, which is level with
Canaria.
Morocco.
Wow. So we've got Northern Hemisphere vermouth there.
We've got air miles. We can have to cut that bit out.
Well, you walked all of this though, didn't you? Surely.
Yeah, no, it's on my walking tour to Gran Canaria.
So that orangey's definitely coming through, and you see that it's starting to taste more like
Wow.
a commercial one now.
Starting to taste really
I
complicated.
think you do need something. And let's see what's gone in so far. That.
I tell you what else has started to taste. It's started to taste really aniseedy with the
fennel.
with the hogweed and the fennel,
Yeah.
and maybe have we put anything else that's carroty in there?
A bit of Alexander's.
Yeah, starting to taste
I
nice.
think it needs a bit more fruity, so I did give you this as a gift. This is Morello cherries from my front garden and some blackberries soaked in brandy, quite good brandy. But I'm going to be someone that gives a present and then takes it back again. This is looking nice, it's looking
Can we
red.
hold it up for the camera to see? Because it's
Yeah,
kind of like hiding
yeah,
back
yeah.
here. It's like we're making something secret.
Do you remember that girl at school that used to sit there with her homework like that? It feels like that, doesn't it?
We didn't go to school together though, did we?
What is that? There was that girl. You had that girl in. Did you go to a boys' school?
No, I didn't. What are you trying to say?
Oh,
How is it?
don't have to. I think it needs a little bit more sweet now.
Now, a really quite strange mixture of different drinks. It tastes a little bit like sort of slightly bitter, old-fashioned sweets now. And if we sweeten it up now, it's going to start to probably taste like a vermouth,
I
isn't
think
it?
little juniper would be nice. So something woody, woody kind of fragrancy, piney. You can get similar taste, I think, to some junipers as you can on some hops. You haven't got any pine or anything like that, have you?
So we've got some syrups here as well. We've got some agave syrup, some coconut.
I think let's keep this one
syrup.
pure. Let's keep this one pure as it's meant, like with just caramel syrup. And then I feel like feeding you.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's really suddenly starting to taste
You have
like
to
a
know
vermouth.
when to stop as well, I think.
No.
Do you think we should carry on? I
Yeah.
think we're here. We could do with some floralness, so I think let's shove it into the nitrous oxide. Give it a zap.
My old retoucher, Dave, when I used to be a photographer,
Used to get
we would.
touched by Dave.
No, he's a retoucher. He used to work on Photoshop, and we'd be working on him in image, and he'd get to the point, normally after he'd had about 4 cans of Stella and smoked 20 Royals Reds, and it was 2 in the morning, and I would say, could we just do this, could we just do that? And he would say, it's not getting any better, it's just getting different. which basically meant it's time to stop.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably with this, there's going to be a point at which it doesn't matter if it gets any more and more complex, it's either going to taste nice or it's not. I like what we've created so far.
You want everything to be in balance. You don't want anything to overpower. Notice that some of the things I was doing this with, some of the things I was filling the spoon with and putting it in.
Yeah.
And you kind of, after a while, you get an idea of which flavours are strongest. So something like hogweed seeds, that's pretty strong. So you only want to go for a little few dashes of that. Whereas some of these floral flavours are not so strong. So you need to put more of those in to get them to come through.
Into the cream whipper, basically just a chamber into which you can blast loads of pressure, and the pressure comes from these little nitrous oxide canisters. Very popular with bar people, aren't they, for cocktails?
And I can't help but have a Freddie Mercury and David Bowie song going on, mate. Pressure!
Oh yeah, I do.
Push it down on this! Push it down on this!
Hold on, make sure you got the right ones, because
Yeah.
there's some... Oh, okay.
I've got it.
Okay.
Got it. All right. It's like having your mum with you having John with you sometimes.
No, I
It's
just didn't want...
sort of having that worry, that little bit of worry. It's nice though, in a nice way. Right, and just leave it.
All right.
So
Then we do like
to
bar people always do like agitating. They're agitators, aren't they? They always have to
They really are.
juggle and... Yeah.
What I needed to say then, actually, but that floral thing was slightly wrong. I sort of alerted myself as I was saying it. Apart from roses, some roses, if you put in rose petals in something, can be really, really, really strong. And so again, everything, I think, let your tongue be the guide. If it tastes strong in there, it's going to taste strong in there. So just allow that strongness of taste.
You'd finished making this, and what you've done is you've created a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So you've bothered to take notes, mentally or actually.
Yeah.
Could you then go through a process of filtration or clarification? Could you end up doing things to then make this a kind of a purer, cleaner drink?
Yeah, I mean, there's various different things you can do. You can get one of those stills that has that kind of round bit on it that you have a little Bunsen burner on, and you can extract flavours in many different ways. I can't remember what they're called, a sort of distiller, a kind of weird little still kind of thing. I sometimes mess about with the alcohol level with the infusions as well, so I'll put 20% in, make it so it's a 20% spirit for some things, but that wasn't the question you asked. Your question you asked is post this, do you filter and things like that? And yes and no, I mean, because filtering does take something away from it. There are some flavours that you kind of that get lost with when you over filter. So if you're using it straight away, I wouldn't filter. If you tend to store it, and take the oxygen out and stuff, then maybe you would, because you don't want any plant matter at all in there. But the thing that we're not addressing, it is good, but the thing we're not addressing is that vermouth is not a stable product. It's not something that should last that long. It's something that you need to keep in the fridge that will last up to 2 weeks.
Oh, right, okay, I see.
It's not, so something like that,
Yep.
This is the trouble with, especially in the UK, about how we treat our vermouth. We stick it on the back shelf of a bar, and then you'll end up with this dusty vermouth that will come down, and it might be 3, 4, 5 months old or whatever.
Or
It's starting
years
to turn,
old at
or
the
even
back of your mum and dad's drinks cabinet, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's starting to break down, and it's not what it was. So we equate vermouth with this dusty, horrible, bitter drink that it doesn't shine like this. This is a completely different product than.
Should we get this one out?
But I think this is let's knock
So
this
you're
one
going to
out.
purge it. You're going to.
It always does that last little, like a little death throat. So we've got these lovely little bottles, haven't we? Let's put it in one of these.
So as opposed to starting with the wine and infusing these in, we've gone the other way round. Then we've added the sweet notes and hammered them into it with the infuser.
It should do the same job. And it's fizzy because of the nitrous. Well, let's have this up so you can see it. That's a nice colour though, that kind of...
And that tastes great. That really
That's
does taste good.
I'd pay for that. Well, I wouldn't because I just made it, but you know what I mean? Like if I went to a bar,
Yep.
I wouldn't mind parting with some money for a drink that looked like that. Whereas... Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, shall we...
That is vermouth number 1. Okay, I'll stop this.